Welcome back to the Cine-Ops Podcast, the podcast where me, Alvi, I'll talk about a movie, I'll kind of narrate it. It's not really a film analysis. I'll just kind of talk about it for a little bit so that way you know what the movie's about. I was in the middle of a marathon. I was in the middle of the Cars marathon. And we do all kinds of movies here. We don't discriminate on the movies. But for whatever it was, I was doing Cars. We were doing the Cars movies, right? Lightning McQueen and Mater and them. Lightning McQueen and everybody. But I've been gone. On September 1st, my daughter was born. Anyway, I had two boys. Now I have a baby girl. I'm officially a girl dad. And it's new, you know what I mean? But it's cool. I get to see this little baby, whatever. So everything's all right. Everything's all right with me. Everything's all right with my kids. How's everything with you? Leave a comment. Email me in. Tell me what you think. How you feel? How do you feel today? How do you feel about the movies? How do you feel about podcasts? Just whatever you got going on. Just tell me about it. Maybe we'll talk about it here. I'm gonna finish Cars, and then we're gonna move on to some different episodes, and hopefully I'll be back more consistently because I had a problem with the host of the pod. All technical stuff, all right? It's going to get taken care of. So let's start. Where we last left off, we did Cars 1, right? We did Cars 1. We met Lightning McQueen. He's the rookie. He's really good, but he's arrogant. He got lost, but in getting lost, he found himself, found some friends, and he's better, right? He came back better. In Cars 2, Mater, he worked with the British intelligence. They discovered a conspiracy by the oil company to do whatever. And that was kind of off the rails. It was a little off the rails, but all right, okay. And now we're back to Cars 3, kind of like back to normal. Let's shift back to the racing, right? And it starts off, and we see Lightning McQueen. He's doing his thing. He's getting ready for a race, right? He's like, oh, speed. I am speed, right? And he starts off, and then we see his season, right? The whole season of racing, and he's getting along with the other racers. And what we see from this scene is that he's a joy to be around, right? He's a good racer. He gets along with everybody. He races hard. Life is good. And we see his buddy Carl Weathers. Carl Weathers? Is that Apollo Creed? Anyway, we see his buddy, right? Carl Weathers, and he's having fun, and they're racing together. They're buddies, but they're racing. They have fun on and off the track. And they're doing pranks on each other during interviews and everything like that. And everything is beautiful. They're racing. It's amazing, right? They're having fun. And then you hear, I don't want to say it's like an ominous music, an ominous sound. But you see a different racer, right? And right before either Lightning or his buddy or somebody else wins, the new racer, the young new racer, he is black. He comes in, boom, he beats everybody. At the last second, a new young racer, next gen racer named Jackson Storm, he comes in, wins the race. Like nothing, not even breaking a sweat. So they do the press conference, and it's Jackson Storm. Everybody's getting to know him. He's like, oh yeah, he's a new kind of racer, new kind of technology, new car, whatever, next gen. And Lightning McQueen's like, oh, we got a new rookie. Oh, that's cool. Right, everybody's a little threatened, but at the same time, they want to welcome him in. And they're like, hey, Jackson Storm, welcome to whatever. Right, and Jackson Storm, he's like, oh, Mr. McQueen. Oh, such an honor. You've been a hero of mine. You've been a hero of mine forever. It's great to finally beat you. And he's like, oh, thanks. Wait, did you say meet or beat? He says, you heard me. And he walks into his trailer, right? So now, this new guy. So now we see Lightning. So now we see Lightning. We saw him as an arrogant racer. Now he's the vet of the sport. He's been here for a while. He's been winning. He's a good guy. But now we see the opposite end from the first movie, and now it sets the tone, right? So now that Jackson Storm, right? So all the sponsors and everything like that, they have to think about their brand, right? The sponsorship, the brand, the company. So if they need to bring in next gen racers and kind of phase out the old ones. Because Jackson Storm, if there's more racers like Jackson Storm, he's going to win every time. That's pretty much what everybody's like, seeing, right? So we see Lightning McQueen. They're doing a few more races, And at the very end, Jackson Storm comes in without breaking a sweat, last second, beats everybody. And they're doing a press conference afterwards. They're asking Lightning McQueen, how do you feel about that race? This and that. He's like, oh yeah, we'll get him next time, guys. Yeah, we'll get him next time. We got to stay focused. We'll get him next time. And he's like, hey, do you have any comment about Kyle Wither retiring? And then he's like, what? He's like, yeah, your buddy Kyle Withers, he's hanging up his light years, right? The tires, that's the tires that they use in this movie. He's like, yeah, he's retiring. He's like, what? No. So, it came as news to him, right? So when he's going back to his trailer, he runs into Carl. And he's like, Carl, what's going on, bro? What's this? You're retiring? He's asking him, you're retiring? What's going on? And Carl, bro, sometimes there's like a phrase. Sometimes there's like a movie and a line that, did they plan it this way? Did they mean for it to be so heavy? Or maybe it's just where you are in life, right? You can watch a movie 100 times, and then depending on where you are in your life, there's a certain line that maybe you never caught before, you never heard before, and it just hit you so hard. It was the wording, the writing, the delivery was so heavy, and it hit you just right, and it'll stay with you forever, right? And Lightning asks Carl, he's like, Carl, what's going on, man? You're retiring? And he says, I asked my uncle once, right? Country boy, NASCAR. I asked my uncle once, when do you know when it's time to quit? You know what he said? The youngsters will tell you. And it just, you feel it, right? Because you can't outrun time, right? If you're going to be around, you can't outrun time. And how will you know when you're done? The youngsters will tell you. But it was so, that's the movie. That's the whole movie. How do you know when you're done? The youngsters will tell you. So Lightning McQueen, fucking star, MVP rookie, star, stud of the game. He's getting there, right? Now he's getting too old, and all these next generation, they're coming up, they're beating him no sweat. And Lightning McQueen, now that he knows, right? Now that everybody's getting replaced by the younger generation, he has to work harder. And you can see him, he's training harder, he's angry, he's focused, he's trying his best, and he just can't break that up. I think he's hitting like 200 miles per hour, and everybody else is hitting 221, 220, whatever, no, easy. They're passing him, no problem. And he's trying the hardest he can to keep up. Not even to win, just to keep up, not to get left behind. And you see he's worried, his teammate or everybody there worried about him. And it's his race, right? They're in the middle of the last race, or they're in the middle of a race, right? You can see, because now, we switched from a bright and sunny day, everybody having fun, racing, good music. Now it's like, focus, come on, wait, hurry up. Give me the tires, give me the gas, whatever. And now his focus is serious now, right? Lightning McQueen is serious. And he's doing his race, he's racing as hard as he can. And he gets a pit stop. Pit stop is quick. And he's back out there, right? He sees that he has a chance to beat Jackson Storm, and he gets back out there, right? He sees that he has a chance, goes in there, gets out, and he tries to get ahead, right? And he's ahead of Jackson Storm. And he's pushing his engine hard. And Jackson Storm's right behind him. Even though Jackson Storm had a pit stop, he caught back up to him, and without even, no, he's not out of breath. He's like, hey, Lightning, you all right? Lightning's pissed because he's trying as hard as he can, and he's like trying to race. He's like, all right, man, just hang in there, buddy. And he passes him, bro. If somebody buddies you, when somebody buddies you, right? It's the same as when somebody sons you. And if you don't know what it means when somebody sons you, it's when somebody tries to, in a nice way, disrespect you by calling you son, or by, somebody pats you on the head. If somebody pats you on the head, one of us has to go. But right, he's like, hey, just hang in there, buddy. Right, he passes him, he takes off, and Lightning, he's going as hard as he can, as hard as his engine can let him go. He's pushing it. You could see him. You can see it in his face, determination in his face, the exhaust, the tires, everything's going, and you can see it from his point of view, right? Jackson Storm takes off, and behind him is the rest of the racers, right? All the next generation racers, and the guy, the sportscaster, right? The guy talking about the race, he's like, McQueen is fading. He's fading fast. Right? And you just hear Lightning, right? Because Lightning hears that. He sees it. He knows it. He's been feeling it for a while. And he's like, no, right? He can't. Right? To him, his whole life has been all about, his tenacity and grit and working and being the best and being the best, being the fastest. And here he is at the back of the race. And the dude is telling him he's fading fast. And you can see Lightning's point of view, narrow vision. He said, no. And he pushes harder. And he's driving hard, pushes harder. The bolts on the back of his spoiler rip off. The spoiler breaks. It tilts him, right? He tilts, he turns, he crashes, right? And for a moment, everybody gasps. Everything is quiet. While Lightning McQueen is tumbling through the air, crashing, boom, he hits the ground. He rolls, sparks, he crashes. And that's the end of the race. All we see is a crowd, the ambulances, and everything. And you see a broken Lightning McQueen. And then some time passes, right? Maybe like a few months. And there's something that happens when something about you breaks, right? You break a leg or anything like that, or especially when you're in a sport and you're injured, it's not just physically that you're injured, right? Your spirit, your mind, it's something that also has to be readjusted. And that a lot of times, if it can't heal, right? You need help, you need the therapy or anything like that. But at the same time, from inside, your mind. You got to get your mind right. So Lightning, he's in Doc Hudson's old position, you know what I mean? Because when he met Doc Hudson, and Doc Hudson isn't around anymore. He's not in the movies, but because his voice actor died. And then out of respect, they're like, oh, we're not going to do Doc Hudson with anybody else. So now we see Lightning McQueen, and he's in the same position Doc Hudson was, right? Doc Hudson was a young, fast rookie. He was winning. He crashed. He had to recover. When he recovered and he tried to come back, they didn't care, right? So he kind of gave up. Didn't want to be in that world. So Doc kind of like gave up. He kind of just stayed out there in Radiator Springs. And now we kind of see Lightning from the same kind of position, right? But Sally comes in. Sally's his girlfriend. She tries to talk to him. And he's like, nah, you know what? Doc, she tries to talk to him. And she's like, Doc Hudson, they didn't want him. They didn't take him back. He didn't have a choice. But you have a choice. People still want to see you. Your sponsors, this and that. You got to get back out there. And he's like, nah, you know what? Yeah, you're right. So he calls up his sponsors, and his sponsors are rusties, right? They're like the old rusted vans, and they sell bumper ointment for rusted cars. So they don't have the most money, but they are the ones that gave Lightning McQueen a start. So they talk to him, right? They're like, Lightning, we got some news for you, man. And so it's kind of like, oh, they're gonna cut me from the team. They're gonna let me go because I crashed and I'm not the best or whatever. And then he says, no, we sold. We want to tell you that we sold the company to a bigger sponsorship, so that way you can have everything that you need to maybe for like physical rehab and for training, so you can be better. You can keep racing and stuff like that. And then Lightning's like, what? Really? You guys did that? He's like, yeah, bro. We made enough money, and it's a heartfelt moment because they did give Lightning his start, right? They gave Lightning his start, and to take care of Lightning, they had to sell their company so he could have better resources for himself, right? To race. So they sold his Lightning. So they sold the company, and they're like, all right, Lightning, like, just be safe out there, have fun, whatever, this and that, and whatever you do, don't drive like my brother. Hey, don't drive like my brother. It was nice, right? Those guys are cool. So now, Lightning, he was sold to this bigger company, right? To this sponsorship company called whatever, I don't remember. But the guy's name is Sterling, right? Sterling, and he's like this rich guy. He's like, oh, Lightning. For the most part, you always think like, oh, the new rich guy's gonna be evil, but this guy's pretty nice, right? He's pretty nice. And then ultimately throughout the movie, he's not really a bad guy. He's just a guy that's trying to manage a racing sponsorship company. So he's like, yeah, Lightning, we have everything you need. We have all these resources. This is our facility, and anything you need. And you're gonna have a trainer, right? A personal trainer. She's the best. And the trainer is called Cruz Ramirez, and she's this young female racer, yellow car. No, she's not a racer. She's this young female. She's a race car, but she's a trainer, right? For all the next generation racers that they have a bunch of next gen racers, but they love Lightning McQueen because he's like a legend in the sport. So that's the whole reason he brought him in, is because he's a legend. He loves racing. He loves Lightning McQueen and everything like that. And he actually, the owner is actually a fan of Lightning. That's why he wanted to bring him on. So now Lightning is partnered up with this racer, with the trainer, right? Cruz Ramirez. And Cruz is taking it like very slow, like very gentle to him, To which Lightning's like, oh no, like I don't need that. I could just go straight. Let's go straight to the track, get them RPMs up. Oh, you know what I mean? So he's still, you know, he has that fire, right? That racing fire. But Cruz is like, nah, like no, let's why don't we stretch first? Why don't we take a nap? Why don't we turn upside down to get the oil going and this and that? All these different type of very slow type methods that Lightning's not used to, or he doesn't want to accept that he has to do. Because that's another thing about getting older. Like, yeah, you get older, but at the same time, you don't want to accept it. Look at this beard. Look at this beard. I remember when I was so proud I was so happy when I first got facial hair, and now I got gray. You can't really see maybe, but I got gray in my beard, gray in my hair. My hairline's been receding. I remember when my first son was born, this corner of my hairline went up. When my second kid was born, this one went in. Now I have a daughter. I don't know what's going to happen. So yeah, so that's the thing about when you're getting older, there's things that you don't, yeah, maybe I should eat better, but I don't want to accept it. You're like, oh, I used to be able to do this and whatever. But now, no, you gotta stretch. You gotta stretch. Don't eat too late in the afternoon. Oh, you know how it is. So that's Lightning. And Lightning, he's trying to push it. He's like, no, come on. Let's take the next step. He wants to get on the simulator, right? Because the simulator is like a treadmill, and has this big old screen, and it's like you're racing, right? And he kind of sneaks off into it when Cruz is not paying attention, and he's like, he doesn't really know how to use it. He's trying to go fast. He doesn't know, and this and that. He's messing up the simulator. He tries to get out. He crashes it. $1 million machine, crashes it. So then he has a meeting, right? He has a meeting with the boss, and you think he'd be mad about the machine, but no, right? It's probably insured. It belongs to the company, and he's talking to Lightning. He's like, Lightning, I want to talk to you about your future, right? Which is never good. And essentially what the owner tells him is like, yeah, I brought you on, but I didn't necessarily bring you on to be that workhorse. You know what I mean? I wanted your legacy. I was always a fan of you. And this is what we have planned for you, right? And he kind of shows them this section, and they have all types of Lightning McQueen merchandise, right? They got the mud flaps, the toys, the bumper, everything like that. So pretty much what he wants to do is to sell merchandise using the legacy of Lightning McQueen, not necessarily racing him anymore, because he knows that Lightning isn't going to be able to keep up with these, with the new gen racers. So he's like, no, you can't. Lightning doesn't want that because he can't accept that yet. And he makes a deal with him. He's like, how about this? He said, if I win in Florida, you let me keep racing, and I decide when I'm done. But if I lose in Florida, I'll do whatever you say. I'll sell whatever merchandise you want to do. And he's like, and the dude's like, oh, I don't know. But he agrees to it. He's like, okay, all right, we'll do it. So now Lightning McQueen has one chance. So in the next week or two, he has to do whatever he can to train and get ready. So when he gets to Florida, he'll have a chance to win this race. And to keep in mind, he hasn't won any race since Jackson Storm showed up. He hasn't won any races. All right, but the owner agrees, and he says, but one condition, you got to take Cruz Ramirez, the trainer, with you, right? He's like, all right. So they go. So the first place they go, because they have to go from there, which is in California, they have to go all the way to Florida. So he's like, all right, so you got to train from here on your way to Florida. And when you get there, whatever like that. So now they're on the beach, right? So the first place they stop, they're at this beach. He's like, all right, we got to race in the sand. And Cruz Ramirez is like, all right, let's race. I'll help you out. But the thing is, Cruz Ramirez never ran. She's never raced or trained outside before. She's always trained in the gym, in the facility, this and that. So she's not used to racing on loose ground. And so in a way, Lightning McQueen's like, okay, you have to kind of pick a line, this and that, whatever like that. So they're kind of helping each other out. So after the sand, they're like, oh, we have to go somewhere. We have to go do something that is actually going to give us that sense of challenge or race, right? So let's sign up for this derby, right? I don't know where they are. They're in the middle of some country town. And there's a demolition derby, all right? So he's like, all right, we gotta sign in under fake names because, Lightning McQueen is technically a celebrity. So he's like, all right, let's do it, right? So they show up, and it's pretty much Cruz Ramirez, Lightning McQueen. They go in here, and the demolition derby is, they sign up for the race because they're like, oh, here's a race. They're doing one this day on Wednesday or whatever. They sign up, and it turns out to be a demolition derby. So they're like, oh, this is not what we signed up for. We got to get out of here. So the dudes, they already locked in the gate. So now they can't get out of there. So now they're in the middle of everybody, all these beat up old cars, trying to crush and kill each other. So now what was supposed to be a race is now they're trying to fight to stay alive. Now they're not really killing each other, but they're beating each other up pretty badly. And now there's this giant school bus, I don't know what her name was, but just dangerous giant looking school bus that's trying to kill him, and she's chasing Cruz Ramirez. And Lightning McQueen's trying to help her, but he has something stuck in his wheel. Everything is muddy, everything is dirty, everybody's crashing into each other. The big bus is trying to kill her. And Lightning McQueen, he's like, no, he ends up crashing into the giant water thing. The water thing splashes water all over himself, clears off his costume, which he was covered in mud. And they're like, that's Lightning McQueen. And they're like, oh, that's not a random demolition derby guy. That's Lightning McQueen. And everybody's like, oh my God, I can't wait. I can't believe this. I can't believe Lightning McQueen's here. And then the derby is over. And Cruz Ramirez, because technically she was the last one because the bus fell over, knocked over Lightning McQueen. Lightning McQueen knocked over the water. The water knocked off his paint. Everybody saw it was lightning. Cruz Ramirez was the last one standing, so she technically won. All right, so now that's over. They're driving to the next town over because they're on their way to California. And Lightning McQueen is pissed because he only has a week to get ready to win. Right, but now this didn't work out. Everything isn't working out. He's running out of options. He's running out of time, so he's pissed. And Cruz Ramirez is like, "Oh wow, like I never had a trophy before." So Cruz and Lightning, they're talking, and Cruz is happy because she's never won a trophy. She's like, "Wow, this is awesome. This is cool. Whatever." And Lightning's pissed because he's like, "Cruz, you don't understand. My whole life, my whole career's on the line, and you're just goofing around, this and that." And he snaps at her. He's kind of being a dick to her, and she's like, "Max, stop the truck," because Max carrying him. Stop the truck. Right? Because Lightning McQueen says something like, you would never understand. You would never understand. You're not a real racer. That's what he says. That's what Lightning says to Cruz. And Cruz is like, stop the truck. Let me out. And she gets out, right? And she's like, ask me if I wanted to be a trainer. And he's like, what? Ask me if I wanted to be a trainer. No, I didn't. I didn't wake up early in the morning, do laps, and do this because I wanted to be a trainer. I wanted to be a racer. And she says, she had to work so hard, this and that. And then one day when she finally had a chance to be at a race and to show up, everything like that, when the race started, she choked. She didn't start. She couldn't race because of how intimidating everything was, the crowd, all the other racers. And she said she grew up looking up to Lightning McQueen and how fearless he was, right? How young and fearless he was as a racer. And she asked him, how did you know you could do it? And he says, I don't know. I just never thought I couldn't. And she says, I wish I knew what that was like. And she leaves, right? She leaves back to the headquarters. So now Max chilling. So it's like later that night, and Lightning McQueen, he's like watching TV and he's seeing all these new reports, all the news reports about the races and how like Lightning really doesn't stand a chance against these new racers and stuff like that. And he has an idea. And he's kind of close to where Doc Hudson used to race. And he knows that Doc Hudson used to have a buddy or a trainer named Smokey, whatever. And he's like, I know. I got to go meet Smokey. Maybe he'll be able to help me. But he feels bad about Cruz, so he's like, I got to go find her. So they go back. They find her on her way home. And he's like, come on, Cruz, please. I can't do it without you. He convinces her to go back with her, right? So they go to the old racetrack where Doc Hudson grew up. And he meets Smokey Johnson. I don't remember his last name, but he's an old, cool pickup truck. And Smokey, he's like, I was wondering if you'd ever show. And then they bring him in, right? They're in the bar. And he's like, you know what? I haven't seen Doc Hudson in so long. But then one day out of nowhere, he started writing me a letter about a young new race car that he met and this and that. And he really loved you. He really loved you, kid. He loved racing. He loved you. He's like, wow. That's what Lightning McQueen says. And he's like, yeah, well, I need some help. I need some advice, this and that. And they start telling him all this stuff about Doc Hudson. And they're like, yeah, he was the best. He was cool, this and that, whatever. And we're going to help you. And they start doing like very old fashioned type racing tricks, right? So the first thing, so it's like very opposite of the headquarters he was at, where they had like the facilities and the simulator. So in this one, they have a barn, right? A farm area. And it's like a bunch of tractors. He's like, all right, come on. We're going to race through these tractors. And he's like, what is this? How are we going to race through tractors? Because they're like cattle pretty much. So he's like, you can only go forward whenever there's an opening, but you never know when there's an opening. So you got to learn how to look for openings, right? Essentially. He's like, oh, okay. All right. I got you. And he's kind of like, he's learning how to do it, right? Because the cows, they're all moving like in a herd, and he's racing through the herd, right? He's like, oh, okay, cool. So the next day they're racing at night. So now he's at night. And he's like, oh yeah, this is where, it's kind of like, like a nod to where like NASCAR came from like running moonshine through the South. So now they're running at night with no lights, and you have to kind of learn to anticipate your next, whatever it is, right? Whatever racing techniques are, right? But it's cool, right? He's learning because that's how Doc Hudson learned. So he's like connecting with his past generation of Doc Hudson. All right, so now the third step is they're gonna race around the track. So Cruz Ramirez, she's dressed up, they put like a Jackson Storm on her, like a lightning bolt. So that way, when Lightning is racing, he can think of Jackson Storm, how he has to beat him. And he goes, right? And they're racing. And Cruz Ramirez, we never really thought about it, but Cruz Ramirez is the a next gen racer. So she's fast. She's really great at it, at everything. So she's pretty fast, just like Jackson Storm. And so she's like running laps around him. And Lightning McQueen, no matter how hard he tried, he can't keep up with her. And they get the last lap, and he comes in second, right? And he comes in second. He didn't beat Cruz Ramirez, which was Jackson Storm. But at the same time, he's out of time, right? He has to get to California the next day. There's no more time for training or anything. So he's like, oh, well, thanks for everything, guys. I just wish me luck. I'll see you. And they go. They go to the race. The race is the next day. So now it's the day of the race. Lightning McQueen, he's in the middle of it, right? We see it. The race is already starting. So now it's the day of the race. The race is starting, and Jackson Storm, he's always like trying to mess with Lightning McQueen's head, and he's like, "You had a good run." You know what I mean? He's saying something like, "You had a good run." Like, you could rest, whatever it is, right? He's messing with him. And Lightning, they're in the middle of the race, and then you see that Lightning, yeah, he did get better. He did get better from everything that he learned, but at the same time, he just can't keep up. And he comes into the pit stop, and he's talking to Smokey, right? Because Smokey's there. He's like the crew chief, and I think all his buddies are there, like Mater and everything like that. But he's thinking, he's like, I just can't. I don't have a chance. And then everything kind of starts clicking to him, right? He thinks about Cruz Ramirez. He thinks about how she didn't want to be a trainer. She wanted to be a racer. And that, you know what? He calls Cruz, right? Because Cruz is like leaving. She didn't want to be there for the race. So she's like outside, and he calls her up. He's like, Cruz, you need to get back here right now. She gets back to the pit, and Lightning's like, yo, put the number on her. So they put the 95 logo on her because Ramon paints or whatever. So he puts the logo on her. They put the tires on her. She's like, what are you doing? He said, what are you doing? This is your chance to win this race. This is your last chance to win a race. He's like, yeah, Cruz, it's my last chance. So that makes it my first chance to give you your first chance too. Right? He's going to use his last race to be able to give her first chance. Right? So Sterling, he's like, no, you can't do that. Right? No, that's against the rules. And then, they're like, nah, Smokey. You're right, Smokey, the crew chief, he's like, actually, the only rule is that the number has to be out there. It doesn't matter who it is. He's like, what? No, that's not allowed. No, you can't do that. So he's trying to decide not, but Mater blocks him, right? So he doesn't come up, make a decision. And then Cruz gets out there. So Cruz is getting out there. So now she's on the track. And it is unexpected, right? So you're like, oh, wow, yeah, and she's going to be able to race. But she's scared, right? Because the whole thing is that she's scared of the crowd, of the people. So when she gets out onto the track, she's realizing how big everything is, how the audience is, all these loud cars that are like whizzing, like they're racing past her, like very dangerous. So she's never done that before. She's only trained. Everything was a simulator, everything like that. So this is the real deal. She feels the rumbling in the ground. So she's nervous. And then Lightning McQueen's like, yo, Smokey, tell her that she needs to do this or that. Because so everything that she's learned, everything that we learned throughout the movie, like when you were on the beach, oh, you got to pick a line, don't hit the crabs, this and that. Oh, when you're over here, the bus was trying to kill you. He's like, how about this, bro? Why don't you just tell her? So now, in this scene, we saw the passing of the torch from Lightning McQueen, who was the young and the best racer. He passed it on to Cruz Ramirez. And in the same way, he stepped up to be the crew chief. So now he has the headphones. He's watching Cruz Ramirez race, and he's giving her the advice. Everything that he knows, he's coaching her through it. So we saw that happen right now. And so Lightning's like, hey, remember what you got to do. You got to find an opening. So now she's racing. She's racing because she learned all the tricks that Lightning McQueen learned, and she's racing better than she had before because she's better. She did it. She's getting better. And Jackson Storm sees that. And he says, Jackson Storm sees that she's racing. So he goes to the back. He's trying to get in her head. And she's like, oh, I don't know if I could do this. And Lightning McQueen's like, don't you know what happened? He's like, what? He's like, yeah, he got in my head. He's like, don't you see what just happened? And she says, yeah, he got in my head. He's like, no, you got in his head. Because if you weren't a threat, he wouldn't have come back here to mess with you. So that means he is threatened. So you have a chance, this and that. And she's like, you're right. Yeah, you're right. So they keep on racing. And these races are like 200 laps, 500 laps, right? And they're racing, right? And Cruz Ramirez, she's keeping up with everybody. She's able to do it. She learned. She's good. There's a chance. And she's racing, she's like neck and neck with Jackson Storm. It's the last couple of laps. It's probably the last lap. And Jackson Storm, he's like, there's no way you could beat me. You're a trainer. You're not a racer. So he tries to ram her into the wall. But earlier in the movie, we saw a flashback that was like, Doc Hudson was the best. And you see somebody try to ram him into the wall. And he like ran up the wall, did a full flip over the car ran into the wall. So that's what happened here. Jackson Storm tries to ram her. She jumps over the wall, back flips over Jackson Storm. Jackson Storm can't believe it. He crashes into the wall. She lands, takes first place, and she wins her first race. 95. Oh, Team 95. And so Cruz Ramirez won the race. And there's like, who is this? That's Cruz Ramirez. There's no official. She's never raced before. She just has no wins. And they're like, oh wait, there is one win. She won this whatever, the derby, the demolition derby. She won, so that counts. She's allowed to do it. So they're like, all right, she's the new racer. So everybody's happy. Like Lightning McQueen's like, yeah, we did it. And they're like, yo, since 95 won, technically Lightning McQueen won too because he started the race, whatever. So it's like all these technicalities. And Sterling, the owner, is like, no, I'm not going to let this happen, this and that. And then Tex, if you remember Tex, he's the sponsor of Dynaco from the very first movie, the light blue company. He comes in and he's like, hey, Sterling, how about I talk to you for a second? Right? Because he pretty much is going to buy him out because he's so rich. He probably has that Texas oil money. He buys him out, and that's what he does. So he kind of buys him out to help out Lightning McQueen because remember, Lightning McQueen saved his boy in the beginning. So it's all good. It's all good. It all worked out because friendship, love, determination, everything. Life is good. And then we see it's Cruz Ramirez. She's at Radiator Springs. She's training with Lightning McQueen. And Lightning McQueen comes out. And he isn't that hot rod red anymore. He's now that fabulous Hornet blue. Because he kind of took the mantle of the Hudson Hornet. He's now, we saw the movie, right? We saw his growth. Movie 1, we saw his growth. So now from movie 1 to 3, we saw him grow into the role of a mentor. And that was Cars 3. Lightning McQueen, Cruz Ramirez. Not so much Mater this time, but that's all right. We got a lot of Mater in the second one. That's the end of the Cars marathon. There's a bunch of other stuff, right? They did the Cars, the TV shows. They did planes. It's all good. We're going to take a break from that from right now. Then we're going to go on to some different movies. Email in whatever you want to hear. Let me know how you're feeling about the thing. Thanks, guys, for listening. I know I've been gone, but I see that you guys still listen. Thank you. That helps me want to come back, you know. I do the YouTube video. If you want to check that out there, see what kind of shirt I'm wearing. I do the YouTube video, Cine-Ops Pod at YouTube. Email me, cineopspod@gmail. Leave a comment. That helps out. Let me know what kind of movies you're going to do. Let me know what kind of movies you want to hear, and I'll do them next. This is Alvi. This is the Cine-Ops Podcast. Till next time.